Hello, everyone. Welcome to Videocast with Vijay. This is episode 3, and today we have a very special guest from Bangalore in India. Subha Parthasarathy is my life coach, and she's the founder of Magic Hive, a center that works with parents and kids to harmonize the parent child relationship and their everyday activities, both in the personal and the professional spaces in the context of the family system. Subha, welcome to my show.
Thank you, Vijay. Good morning.
Okay, so today we are in a very new era. So it's unprecedented. People are locked down in their homes. So everybody is struggling, especially parents. How to engage their kids is a challenge. It has always been a challenge because parenting has evolved from how we saw when we were kids to how we are seeing today. Now, in this new situation, what is the role of a parent and how has it evolved? How it needs to evolve in this new context?
That's a pretty large question that you have asked, Vijay. So I will see how I can break it into, parts and kind of mm, share my thoughts on it. The first thing is parenting as such. The role of the parent has not really changed. It's the over the years it has been the same in terms of nurturing, being protective of the children. So the way we see it is there are a few things that children need when they are growing up. So one is safety, that is physical as well as emotional safety. So that is something which was there even earlier. Then you have the nurturing part in terms of, allowing the child to be the way they are, to be seen as they are. So in that respect, there has been some kind of a shift in terms of the way we are seeing children now. It may be because of a shift in our thoughts, a shift in our belief systems, and also a shift in the priority of the needs that we are looking at. So in the earlier times, it was more about sustenance and physical well-being. Now there are other needs which have also come up into the same level, which are taking prominence. That is a need to be seen, need to be acknowledged. So these needs, when they come up, there have to be certain different strategies which we are using to meet those needs. So those strategies may be different from what was being done earlier. And the other thing is the shift in the way we are looking at, the learning or the outcomes that come in our life, the day-to-day experiences. The shift has come because earlier the experiences were experiences. Now they are more of an outcome that we want or we don't want. So the focus is a lot on the outcome part rather than the process itself. So children, the parents are also feeling the pressure, which our parents may not have felt that much, but they are feeling the pressure to be focused on the outcome and make sure that the outcome is, conducive to what we are thinking. So there is a shift. And also the belief systems, the sense of competition or the belief that there is a lot of competition and there is a race that we are, running, not just with others, even with time. So the whole shift in that belief system is resulting in a lot of behaviors, some of which are constructive, some of which may not be so constructive for children. So because of all this shift, you will see the difference in the way parenting is being done now and what it was being done earlier. Right. And another thing that comes out when we are talking about parenting, like you said, what is really needed right now with the present situation? It is what I think is more self-awareness with regard to the parent itself. As an adult, I need to be really aware of the baggages I carry, the belief systems, the needs I'm working with, so that I can be more aware and conscious about my words, the language I use, and also the action with my child, so that I can empower my child to work with the unpredictability that is in the present, and it's going to be there in the future too.
Quite a few threads that are emerging from what you shared. And the one that resonated with me very powerfully was the experiences were just experiences in the past, and it has moved towards more of outcomes. So Do you mean to say that in the past people were okay with being with the process and less reliant on outcomes, and today it is shifted completely towards outcomes?
I would say earlier there was focus on the outcome, but it was not as much as it is now, because now it has become, like I said, the thought process has changed uh, to the focus on the doing rather than the being. So in terms of even my life experience, if I look back, there was no compulsion on me when we talk about holidays. There was nothing where my parents said you have to learn something, or it needs to be productive, or this is the outcome that you need to come up with. For us, it was more like learning, enjoying the process, exploring, experimenting. But now, whatever the child does, there is a focus on the outcome, whether it is good, bad. Maybe it is the social media. There is a lot of global trotting. So there is a lot of comparison, and there is a need for perfection or need for excellence. So that changes the way we are looking at the outcome as well as the process. So the focus on the process is much less than the focus on the outcome. So everything is treated as good, bad, uh, success, failure, winning, losing. So that's where we get caught up with, though we know that the process is there, but we are still somewhere missing that path, and working more with the outcome. So that has a certain consequences, which maybe we find it challenging right now to work with.
Interesting. You also mentioned about the rat race and all the things that you shared just now, like success, failure, right, wrong. It all centers on a competition, a race. Today, the rats are still, they may be running their races, but we are all staying in the homes. How do you see competition? Because everything that we see in this world today is based on competition. There are new ways of getting a sense of achievement. How do we harmonize with this, and what does competition mean in this new context?
When we say competition, one thing is that there is a need behind the strategy that we are using. Maybe the need is effectiveness in life, to be seen, a need to be heard, a need to exist. And somewhere the thought process is that, there is something better than something else, or somebody has to prove that somebody is better than somebody else, or I need to be the best in something. The whole idea is, when we look at each other, I see us being different and yet same. So when it's like comparing an apple and an orange. I mean, apple is an apple and orange is an orange. So when we are comparing human beings or their talents or abilities, or putting them against each other, we are just creating an environment where there can be a lot of conflict. It can affect your self-worth and confidence. Instead, if you are looking at people and allowing them to be themselves, there is a space for everyone in this world. That's a belief that I would like to carry for myself. So if I believe that there is a space for everyone in this world, I am not running any race. So I do what meets my need. If I enjoy doing what I'm doing right now, it meets my need for contribution, I keep doing it. And if something comes along the way, say, a medal or an achievement or something, I enjoy that also. So we call that being mindful, living in the moment. We don't need to be running after something. We can just accept whatever comes and enjoy the space that is given to me. And I also appreciate and enjoy the space that you are coming from. So that brings in a lot of respect, cooperation, and the space that we come from is compassion, not control or fear. So when we are working from competition, there is always that fear that somebody else is going to be ahead of me. Or I look back and I feel satisfied that there are some people behind me. But at the end of the day, I am where I am. So, the whole sense of competition is, I think, in my way of looking at it, it is really hyped, and we don't realize the consequence of what it does to children. Especially as an adult, I may deal with it, but for children, it can create a lot of emotional issues, and even issues related to self-worth. So we need to be careful on what kind of beliefs we carry, or at least be aware that if that belief, how is it helping, or what effect that belief has on me, to I pass it on to my child. So those are the things that, as a parent, as an adult working with children, I would like to be aware of. Work from the mindful space.
Pretty powerful. You use the word need quite a lot during this conversation. Could you please help us understand what you mean by a need?
Need is something like a life energy that connects you, or that is somewhere responsible for your behaviors. That is what motivates you to take an action in your life. So uh, we are using words to understand what is going on with us, or what motivates us to reach somewhere or do something. So if uh, say simple examples of, if I'm cooking for my family, what need am I meeting? So I am meeting my need for contribution, I am meeting my need for physical sustenance. So when I'm clear that that is the need, and cooking or making those dishes is one of the strategies to meet that need, it opens up a lot of possibilities for me. uh, I just look at it as a strategy. So I don't need to make 10 dishes to make somebody happy. Instead, I can make one dish and meet my need for sustenance. So if I'm clear with what is it that I'm working towards, then the strategy I have a lot of options to work with, rather than just sticking on to one option. So if my need for the family is contribution, maybe I will make 10 dishes. If my need for my family is sustenance, I might make just 2 dishes. So I get that opportunity to make the choice. So there is power of choice when we are working with the from the needs aspect. And the other thing which comes out for me when I'm working with needs is compassion. So the way I am working for towards my needs, I also understand that others are working from their needs, and all of us are doing the best we can to meet our needs. So it sounds very simple, yet for me it is really powerful, because then there are no enemies. Each one is working towards meeting their needs, and that compassion comes through for the other person. So we are able to see people, not as objects, or as enemies, or something that we need to fight against. It's more like, okay, so the strategies are different, our needs are the same. Would that help?
It helps and also provokes a few questions. So, like, say, I'm a strategy guy. So I have needs, and there is another person who has needs. Then naturally, it becomes a competition between my needs versus that person's needs, either in the context of family, it could be between me and my wife, or in the context of the work setting between me and another colleague. So, how do we then be compassionate and prioritize their needs while we honor our needs?
So when you say that there is a conflict between needs, maybe I need to ask you for an example. The whole thing is, the needs per se are universal. So when you say you have a need and your wife has a need, so the need for acknowledgement, need for love, need for support, need for understanding, all the needs are universal. It's the same thing that you have, and it's the same thing that your wife has. It's just that at that moment, maybe a certain need takes priority, and there is a strategy that you don't agree with. So, for example, your need for relaxation is listening to music. Your wife's need for relaxation is met through sitting together and watching a movie. So, it is not that both of you don't need relaxation. It is just the strategy that you might be fighting at, and also the priority of the need at that moment. So, the one way to work it through is to first be aware what need you're trying to meet, and second, also look from the other person's point of view as to what need they are trying to meet, and see if both needs can be met. That means midway you can, it's not my need or your need, it's basically trying to meet both the needs. So in this case, it could be both of you sit together and listen to music. So her need is also to be with you. So you figure out a way where both your needs can be met through communicating it. Most of the times we are not communicating what we want or what need we are trying to meet. We just use a lot of strategies which are termed as needs. I need some peace, or I need you to be quiet, instead of saying, hey, I'm needing some peace, would you talk softly? So the way we use language can be very different if we are aware of what we are needing and what we are feeling and what strategy we are looking at to meet that need. Then things become a little more clearer and simpler. It's not that all the time our needs are going to be met, but at least we know that there are different options to meet the same need.
That's powerful, but I have a question there also. Say, for example, I'll give you a real example where of my friend Balaji, whose wife is an IT professional, and they both live in Trivandrum in India. And we were discussing in our WhatsApp groups, sharing some of our challenges. And Balaji shared that his son, second son, is hyperactive. He has two sons. First one is 13, the second one is 7, and his son is hyperactive, and he's finding it very hard to engage. On one side, both the parents have to work and meet the needs of the family as well as their needs. And now they have to also manage the needs of the child. And the priority right now for them is the work, and they tend to ignore them. And so there is a challenge in terms of how to prioritize itself. So how do we go about it?
Yeah, one thing is to accept that all the needs cannot be met at all the time. Um, that is there. And it is a challenge to try to meet our needs as well as other people's needs. So the challenge is very real and it's there. So the one way to work with it is to at least work with the acceptance that as much as you are trying to meet your need, the child is also trying to meet some need of theirs. So for children now who are cooped up inside, their need for freedom is not met, their need for play is not met, their need for connection with other people is not met. So there are a lot of needs which are not met, for which there can be behaviors which can be challenging for us. So one way is to go along with them in terms of at least understanding, go with that empathy that they are also doing the best to meet their needs as much as we are. So what is it that we can do with the children that can help them to at least know that we are accepting that their needs are not being met? Sometimes we are so much engrossed with our needs that we are not even willing to accept that the child also may have a need. So we are not willing to acknowledge that, hey, it is very challenging for you to be at home. It can be very, constraining for you. I'm getting it. So that acceptance is not there. Most of the times we tell the child, you know what, you know how difficult it is for us. We are sitting at home. I know Appa has office and Amma also has work, and you people are not adjusting. So the whole part is, if you want to work with cooperation, first you need to accept that both sides there are needs, and second, to go along with the child. If the child is needing movement right now, say you said hyperactive, so it's mostly seen as a label, but yes, maybe the child needs a lot of physical movement. So have some kind of space for the child where he can move freely without being constrained all the time, without being given instructions all the time. So when you give that space to the child to be himself, maybe after some time the child also is willing to meet your need, whatever way you want them to meet it. Or there is going to be resistance because the child is hearing force, and wherever there is a force or there is a control, there is going to be resistance. So it's to understand the behavior, walk along with the child, and then figure out what other things can be done so that both the needs can be met.
Yeah, very interesting. You use this term, walk along with the child. The world it looks like it's turned upside down. And how do they walk along when you encounter a situation like this? And because there is so much that is being forced on them right now.
Yeah, so one thing that I would suggest is to go one step at a time, accept things as they are, one step at a time, try to figure out what is it that is in your control and how you can work with it. Because so many things are unpredictable now. It is not just scary for children, it is more scary for the adults, because we don't know what is normal anymore. And every day is like any other day. So when I get up in the morning, I'm thinking to myself, oh, it's another day, but it's like any other day. So you're doing the same thing what you were doing in the earlier day, and you may not even have a sense of the time or the date or the day at certain points of time. So that is the reality that we are going through right now, and it will take time to sink in. So we need to give ourselves that space, at least take some time out every day to reflect on what is really going on with us. That is the first step. Because right now what we are doing is just getting through each day as if it's a normal, as if everything is fine, and someday it can hit us really hard. So it would help to take some time out and reflect on what we are feeling about it, what we are thinking about it, and also talk to others about it, so that we get more clarity. We get that sense of shared reality, because we know that others are also going through it. Thanks to technology, today we are connected. We have Zoom, we have WhatsApp, so people are staying connected, trying to keep up their spirit, uh, coping with it through various things. The coping strategies work well when it comes along with awareness. So if we are using coping strategies without awareness of what we are going through, then they may not work in the long term. So it always helps to take some time out and reflect. Talk to your friends, talk to your spouse, reach out to medical professionals, talk to them, so that you are mindful of what is going on with you right now, because that will only help in terms of how you respond to situations, and also respond to your children in the coming days. Because as the children are cooped up for longer and longer, there are going to be a lot of consequences in terms of the child's coping strategies, the mental health. There are a lot of things which will take priority over even work. So we need to start looking at those things right now, so that they don't become a tsunami later on.
That's very powerful. And I think in terms of summarizing this conversation, for me, it's acceptance is the key. You need to accept the new reality. Focus more on the process than on the outcomes. Detach yourself from the outcomes. And the third bit is share and communicate. Be vulnerable. Seek for professional guidance or help. The most profound line that resonated with me very powerfully is there is space for everyone. And that is very reassuring. So Subha, thank you so much for your time and for these insights. I hope this will be very valuable. In case if you have any questions, please share your questions in the comment section, and we'll be more than happy to explore with Subha and revert back on those questions. So thank you, Subha.
Thank you so much, Vijay, for having me here. Thank you.